Hello, Bernie Wall here, and welcome to another in the IELTS Learning Tips video series on helping you to get your IELTS Band 7 and 8. And today's video is quite short. I just want to ask one question, or at least pose a question, and then try and answer that. And the question is, can I get my IELTS entirely alone? So without any support, basically. I will go into the detail, but I think the one thing about this question that you need to remember is that IELTS is about English language, and language by its very nature is about communication, and communication involves more than one person. So unless you are in a position where you are, let's say, a native speaker, it's going to be difficult if you don't have the opportunity to communicate with people and improve your skills. So please remember, IELTS is about language, is about communication. And I think if you remember that and bear that in mind, it will help you to prepare in an effective way, which will involve engaging with others. It's not a fact learning exam. You cannot learn facts for IELTS. It's about skills. So let's have a look at this question in more detail, and I'll give you a few of my ideas, which are born out of my personal experience of over 25 years teaching IELTS and 10 years online, and a lot longer than that teaching English language. So can you get it completely alone? Well, how much time do you have? That could be a factor. So I just wanted to say that I have here in YouTube, I don't know if you've seen them, there are about 4 interviews with some of my successful students. And they talked about, I just noticed IELTS is missing an L in the 3rd line. Sorry about that. They all talked about their experience of preparing for the exam, passing the exam, and then how that affected their futures. But all of them said that one of the things that changed everything was getting support. And that support was twofold. It was working with a teacher, i.e. myself, but also working as a group with other people, because I always try, if I can, to introduce students to other people so that they are not doing it completely by themselves. So if you want to look for those videos and have a look at what these students said, they're all 7 and 8 students, so you could have a look and see what they said about that. But moving on, can I get IELTS completely alone? Well, it depends. And it depends firstly on how good your English is. So are you a native speaker? If so, then yes, you probably can, but you will have to practice the exam. If you're not a native speaker, do you know that your English level is congruent with the IELTS band you want? So for example, if you're looking for band 8, which I know sometimes students say they are, some of these subtitles are rather peculiar. If you're looking for band 8, you need to be almost native speaker. So that's worth bearing in mind. The second thing is, how much time do you have? Are you in a hurry? Or do you have as much time as it will take you to reach the band that you want? If you're in a hurry, I was talking to a student recently who needed to get his exam in about 6 weeks, and he needed to have an overall band of 7, yet he was only on 5.5. So in 6 weeks, that's just not going to be possible really at that level. So be realistic about how much time and where you are. And the third factor is, how well do you study? Are you very systematic? Do you practice every day? Do you have everything you need? Or are you one of those people that just sits and watches movies a lot? And there's nothing wrong with that, because you can learn a lot, But when it comes to the practical things like reading and writing, they don't help a lot. And do you have a good study ethic? Because if you're going to try and do it in a short space of time, you're going to have to find lots of ways of practicing. Okay, so let's address the language level. I mentioned that before. If your level's high, so if you're C2, which is almost native speaker, then you probably can, with a little bit more practice, you should be able to do this. But you have to have this in all 4 skills, not just in reading and listening, as a lot of students do. I see again and again and again students with 7, 7.5, 8 in reading and listening, sometimes even 9, yet their writing and speaking fall to 6, 6.5. So it's got to be across the board, and you still need to prepare. If you're at lower levels, you'll need some help. Even if you've got a lot of time, it would be good to get some sort of support. So it could be joining a group, it could be taking a class, or it could be obviously with a teacher in a class. But if you can afford it and you're in a hurry, then maybe your best route is to get a one-to-one teacher. So the second one was how much time? Right, generally in the industry, it says that it takes 200 hours of study to move 1 band. So that would be around 3 months if you study 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, which is fairly reasonable if that's all the time you've got. If you have less available time, then it's going to be harder. Sorry, that doesn't make sense, does it? If you have less available time, then it will be much harder to do. And it still may not work out, because if you don't have people to practice speaking with, that could be a block. If you don't get your writing checked, that could also be a block. So from band 6.5 to 7 plus can take a little bit longer, say, in my experience, than 5.5 to 6 or 5.5 to 6.5. So as you get higher up the bandings, I think sometimes the leaps are bigger. Okay, what's your study ethic like? Have you got a good discipline? Can you work consistently and with consistency? So, you know, are you one of those people that will sit down, do the work diligently, or are you one of those people that will sit down and say, oh, I just haven't got my head around this today, I'll do it tomorrow? So if you're a procrastinator, then you may find that it's, even though you set yourself a good timetable and you set yourself a good time scale, it won't work because you haven't got the discipline. You need to be able to do every part of the test. If you're one of these people that enjoys doing listening and nothing else, your listening may go very, very high, but the rest will suffer if you don't practice. And can you follow a plan diligently and not keep changing and moving the goalposts? Do you monitor, or are you one of those students that can't be bothered? Because all of these things help you. And this is what it takes. So if you're not very disciplined, then allow yourself more time. If you want to do it faster and more efficiently, then I suggest you work with an IELTS teacher. So there are lots of options. You can join a class, as I mentioned before. You can work one-to-one. You can just choose to do one part of the test with a teacher. I would recommend the writing, or maybe the speaking and the writing. So there are lots of options, and hopefully one will fit your budget. Okay, so I hope that kind of answered a few questions for you. And any comments, if you want to find out about my work with students, then I would love to talk to you about it. So just drop me a message on Facebook, or email me, or a message via my website, and we can get together and discuss your IELTS. Okay, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.